Hello, I'm Ann Tracy with Blandon on Broadband, and I'm here virtually in Swift County. I'm here to talk about broadband and COVID, and has broadband been a help or a hindrance in dealing with COVID this year? I'm delighted to have two people join us. We've got Cindy Hendricks from the library. Thank you very much for joining us. Yeah. And we've got Amanda Ness from the county administration. Thank you. Yeah. So it's just one question this year, you know, because the COVID is our year. So, and I know I'm going to start with you, Amanda, a little bit, because what has been your experience both in the office and at home with?
I think it's been phenomenal for us. Having broadband in most of the county has been just tremendous. We were able, from the office standpoint, from human resources, we were able to send people home almost immediately. We had some already working from home in services, and they were able to quickly move others home because they had high-speed internet, and we were already using it. Personally, my kids both were doing school from home. I was working from home. And then we farm as well. And my brother lives up in Little Falls, and he and his wife and kids were all able to come down and stay with me, and we could all be on work calls and Zoom meetings and school stuff all at the same time.
How many people did you have? You're going to make half the state jealous. How many people did you have using your connection?
So it was 3 of us working from my house and 3 to 4 schooling at our house at the same time.
Wow.
And previously, the internet we had, we couldn't have one person on there without it cutting out and buffering and continuously stopping. So it was huge.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So from the county perspective, you were able to send people home right away because they had the connectivity at home, but also because you had the infrastructure in place work-wise.
Right. Yep. We had to tweak some policies, but because we already had some, and obviously not everybody that works for Swift County lives in Swift County. Literally 2 miles north of my house is Pope County, and one of our HRA executive director isn't on our broadband, and she is about a mile south of Pope County's broadband. So there were still struggles, but the majority we were able to work from home right away with very little interruption.
Nice. Nice. All right, Cindy, I think you have a different story to some degree. How has it been for you?
Totally jealous of Amanda. I want to be Amanda. May I have a room in your house if this continues?
Room for everyone.
That's great.
Because unfortunately, Appleton was not able to take advantage of all of this wonder and this splendor of broadband that Amanda can. And so I did not have the same experience. The library here closed for 5 weeks, and they asked us not to return to our places of work because they felt that since they closed them for insurance and all these other different things, that we were asked not to return. And the problem with that for some of us, particularly me, is because my husband has a position that he also had a lot of meetings and things on Zoom. He needed access to all sorts of things. And so he and I were just kind of like fighting each other on who got to use the internet at our house. We could not both be on at the same time. I mean, and I'm saying if he had a meeting or if I had a meeting, the other person could not be on the internet, even looking at their Facebook or email account. We could not do this. And so I did get permission to come down here to the library, because the library, and there's a few different key pieces and parts in our city that have federated. And so we have higher speed, we have access. And that was the way I had to do some things sometimes because it was my only access. And so I know our library system was paid incredible amounts of money to get that in all 32 of our branches in Pioneer Land. And I'm so thankful for it because during COVID, it was kind of my only option for some things sometimes because my husband needed to have some of this as well. Yeah. But on the other side, at least we had access to it so that we had customers, we were still serving them digitally and offering different things even while we had this, this time that we were closed.
How many of your patrons do you think are in the same boat that you are?
How many of my what did you say?
The patrons. How many of them do you think, they couldn't get special permission to go to the library? What do they do when there are two of them working from home?
I know the school district really struggled to handle the digital option because we have a lot of people in our communities that do not have the internet at home or they have the poor access to it. And so we did offer free Wi-Fi outside our library while we were not open, and we advertised it, and we did have people that were taking advantage of it. Another thing that we have done in this is we're trying to test out whether hotspots might be something that we can offer our public. We only have, because what happened is the state of Minnesota allowed some extra money to go to all the different library systems. It was part of like RLTA money or something. And so our library system purchased 75 of them to share between the 32 libraries. But honestly, when you have a 9-county region, it's hard to find one entity that really services. So whether you go with Verizon, whether you go T-Mobile. And so that's the other issue we have is the access for any kind of cell phone coverage. It's a struggle. We went with T-Mobile, and there are some libraries in our system that it's not going to work. It's working here in Appleton, but I only have 3 of them. It's a test project because it's incredibly expensive to do this. Incredibly. But we're trying to do it, and they're being checked out now, and it's something new that we just started probably within the last, I don't know, month or so. Anyway, because it took a while to get everything all set up. Yeah. But yes, our patrons are struggling. Everybody is struggling. I know the city had a study, or we did some kind of study, and I mean, I was just like running down the streets trying to get people to fill this thing out because we want better options at home, you know. But it's expensive. It's super expensive, and we're already taxed with all the other things that we have. We've got a lot of issues, and so there's just not a lot of money. So.
And why was Appleton left out?
Because we are served, but we are underserved. But we're not served. Am I right, Amanda?
Yes. And I lived in Clonarf when that all started, and we were in the same boat because we had some options. There's no way we could have had 5 of us on with those options, but we had options. So yep, underserved. So we didn't get it either. And I know we were trying to get a survey going and trying to convince Federated to come in and offer. But the more spread out you are, the harder and more expensive it is for them. And having just undertaken this whole county project, they weren't sitting in a good spot to be able to pick up all these little towns that were underserved either. I have a couple friends, 2 of my neighbors actually work for Federated. And one of them, we used to joke because he was a mile away from Broadband and couldn't get it. And so he kept going to his boss too. I'm like, well, when can I have this? So he got it with Swift County too now, but they definitely see the need to, and they want to help people, but trying to figure out where they can go and how far they can stretch the money. I think that's the next, I think that's next on our list is how to serve the underserved.
Mm-hmm.
And the underserved is 25 megabits per second down and 3 up.
I think that sounds right. It's been a while since I've looked at that. But.
That one I know. that one I know. But it is amazing how, I mean, I think especially when you're trying to work, when you're trying to participate in a Zoom meeting, when you're trying to hold a Zoom meeting, when kids are trying to upload it's the upload speed that 3 megabit will get you, I would think.
Well, I'm just moving in with Amanda if this happens again. She told me yes. To heck with my husband. I'll just leave him home.
We've got it on video now, so I think you're good. I think you're good.
More the merrier. You gotta help water the garden, though. That's the only. Anybody that stays has to help water and weed the garden.
Ooh.
And she got that one on video, so we're. Well, and one of the things that I want to say is that Swift County is, I think, number 4, top rank 4 for rank to 120 access. So according to the numbers, you guys are sitting pretty. But in reality, and especially now that people are really, I mean, that's what COVID has really done, is it exacerbated it's really lifted up the people who are served and pushed down the people who are not served.
Absolutely.
Important to point that out. Have either of you had to deal with, or have you heard any about trying to access telehealth?
And that was something that we had set up already with through the county, and I really promote it just because I've used it a lot for my kids. But I know the Benson Hospital had set up a room for people too, so they could still come in if they didn't have access from home, where they could go and sit and do their virtual meeting with someone in Wilmer, wherever. Outside of that, I guess I haven't heard much.
All right.
I have not personally had anything to do with it, but I have talked to other people, but they just don't necessarily live here. So, and I know a lot of people did take advantage of it. They just didn't live in Appleton. So I've had some other friends that have dealt with it in other areas that have a little better access, let's just say.
And I should say I've used it, but not over webcam. I've only done it over the phone. So my experience really isn't relevant to broadband either.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that they've opened it up that you can do it by phone, I think makes I feel, I have 3 kids. They're a little bit older now, but the first time you might need a diagnosis for pink eye. The second time you're pretty sure what it is. If you've got kids, there's some things
my son was chronic ear infections all the time, and they always hit in the evening or on the weekends, never when the clinic is open.
Of course.
Yep. So, and it was call in, and they're like, I give them the whole rundown of how often he'd had it and what medications they put him on and what worked and what didn't. And they were like, yep, you know what this is. Here you go. Pick up the prescription. We actually did it at the county fair one year. Didn't want to take him out the fair and miss everything he'd been working for all summer. Have to miss his shows. So I called, and then they said, do you want us to call that into your normal pharmacy, or do you want us to call it into the pharmacy in Appleton since that's where you are? Like, yeah, Appleton, perfect.
I'll take that, please.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I mean, I hope people use it more even once everything's opened back up.
Well, and it sounds like, again, it's an option for most of the county, but not Appleton.
Well, and
or Appleton.
Or Appleton is right. What are your schools doing this fall? Are kids on site, hybrid, distance?
We're on site at this point, but we'll see how it goes. Mm-hmm.
We're
And
on
do you-
site right now too, but I think we're all expecting that to change and just waiting for that shoe to drop. But sounds like they have signed up. They have it figured out for who gets iPads and who gets Chromebooks, and I see this as a great thing too. When in my niece and nephew in Little Falls, anytime that that they think there might be a snow day, they tell the kids, bring home your Chromebooks, and the younger ones, they send them home a folder of homework that they can work on, so they don't have to take it as a snow day. They can keep on their regular schedule.
I think we're nervous about it, and I know I've talked to some different teachers and some things, because last year or this year when this happened, even if they sent a Chromebook or they sent something home with them, it was the home internet access that people were still running into problems with. We've had a lot of inquiries from the school about how many hotspots that we have, because they want to tell people, and we only own 3 of them. And so that's kind of a problem. And then like we said earlier, when we closed too for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And there are still several public libraries across the state that still are not open. We're open to the public and everything here, but when things close down, that access is a problem, because we do have quite a few that come in here to either tap into our Wi-Fi or use the computer for things. And I'm sure they're nervous about it. I know I tried to send them to some things. I think there was another opportunity for people to be able to get some hotspots or get something. And I thought the school should look into it, because maybe that would be the answer for them. But that's just my sharing. I can't, make them do anything just because I think they should.
So the role of Cassandra, you can know everything and no one. Yeah, I used to be a reference librarian.
and you just want to help people. That's what
Right.
To me, that's what the library's business is all about. Is we want to help everyone, and yeah, it pains me that we can't help people more in that avenue. Yeah, so.
It is. I mean, it is a difficulty, and it's great to hear that you guys are full-time on site. That's you may see my non-full-time, my digital learner right now walking behind me.
I'm full-time on site, but our building is only allowing us to be open to the public for 50% of the time. So that means that we're open to the public for half of the time that we're here. Okay. The other half, we are here for phone calls, we do curbside pickups, we do ordering, we do a lot of other things for people, but that is what our city is allowing us at this current point in time. And I think it's for, the safety or whatever. I'm not really sure, but that's just how it is. So that's what we're doing. But we are back in, and and hopefully they even open it up more so that we're able to be open more. But right now, I think normally I have like 45 hours or something that we're open, and I think now we are open to the public for half of that. So 22, 23 hours. So that's where I'm at.
Well, and anybody needing to get there for homework is going to feel that pinch.
Yep, they will.
Or any other
they will.
I think we have a lot of elderly that go into the library here for their access, and they're socializing too. And all of that is, and our drop-in center is closed, our library was closed, because you can't have people grouping up like that. But again, if you want to offer Wi-Fi and then people need to group together to use what's available, especially when you only have a few spots like in Appleton that even have it. It's such a catch-22.
And the socialization part of it, you're so right, Amanda. People are missing that. We do a lot of programming at the public library, and Benson and Kirkhoven and Appleton, we share, and we really try to work together in our library, in our little library world. And so it's something we're missing. It's a component of my job that I miss so much, because it's bringing all sorts of different things to people that we're not able to now because of COVID. And so our programming has switched. Like this summer, we switched to weekly make and takes, things that people could pick up and take with them. We created digital instructions as well as paper instructions to go with it. So we had to make sure that people would have access to it. And we knew we couldn't just depend only on digital, because remember what we said is not everybody has that access. And so it's been a switchover that we've had to do, and we will be doing more of it, because I'm not sure that we're going to be able to have these things even throughout the rest of the year. We were able to move some things to outside, book clubs, for example. We're able to do that because it condenses into a smaller group, and you can do 6 feet distancing and things like that. But that soon will come to an end. I don't think they're going to want to be outside in their snowsuits talking about the latest book.
That'll be a really good book.
I was going to say, that's when you pick the beach reads. Talk about Acapulco while you're... That's twice the work for you to do it in paper and digital. Maybe not twice, but it certainly is 50% more to have to work on it from that perspective.
Plus there's a comfort level. I mean, I don't know how you all feel, but not everybody feels comfortable in front of a camera to do a lot of these things. And so it's been like, I'm not doing that. You do that.
It's hard. What I've learned my vanity is this is how I go through my day, but honestly, I can't see you when I put these on. This is going to cause me to get the bifocals. Because I'm not used to seeing myself without the glass. You know, I usually just see a parting shot, but it's a whole new skill. It's a whole new.
And you know, I do a radio show. I've had a radio show for several years, but radio and video are totally different.
That's funny. I do a radio show as well, but it is moved entirely online because it was at McAllister College campus. So it closed down as soon as, so that's very funny. So just last night I was interviewing some members of the suburb. Yes. You know, so there have been, it's funny because there are some opportunities that have come. You know, I've been able to interview more people than I would have for the radio show. You know, we've got the fall Blandon Broadband conferences coming up, and I don't know if you know this, I think we have actually said it, but one of the keynote speakers is going to be Tom Friedman. So I don't know that we would have gotten him. I don't know if it would have occurred to us to get him on a regular year. But have you seen any opportunities that have kind of arisen because of COVID, where you're like, oh, that we might stick and do that, or that did give us an opportunity to do something new?
I think as a county, we've talked about it because we're so short on space right now anyway. There were some departments that didn't think it would work very well to be remote, and then they found out that it was better. And so, you know, maybe we'll have them be remote in the future too. And some that thought it would be really good and then decided, it really didn't work out the way I wanted, and I'd rather be in my office. And I think, and others that a hybrid would work better. So I think county-wise, it opened our eyes to a lot of things. And also a lot of the meetings that we would have had in person before, we would have traveled. I know I go quarterly down to Redwood Falls. Well, tomorrow is that quarterly meeting, and I'm going to do it online and save myself 2 extra hours out of the office by attending online. You know, and when there's certain topics, I might still go down there or go down once a year, but if I can do it online and it's working and I get just as much out of it.
We're in the same boat. I think that it pushed us. We've talked about doing a lot of things via Zoom, but we've never really had them. And so in our case, we usually go to Wilmer for our, our meetings and things like that. And we've talked for a long time, why don't we do this via Zoom or via something else? And I think that it has pushed us so that now we too, instead of traveling, just like Amanda says, we're doing more and more like that. And I liked it because, especially in the winter, we've had to cancel meetings, and that way we can still hold them and not have to worry about it. And because there's a lot of regional things as well as state things. Another thing is the state put out kind of a weekly call session. And so the Department of Education and the library, the state librarian, and I found that incredibly helpful. And it allowed us to reach out and talk to others that are in the same boat as us, so that you're not kind of alone in that little corner of the world. And so that was a really good thing that we saw. And it also allowed a lot of professional development. Myself and the staff here, we took all sorts of classes, and we kind of have continued to do that we didn't have time to do before. And so honestly, even though COVID is not the greatest thing, it has had some wonderful things happen as well. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think we're seeing more collaboration too with departments that never got together before, that now that they found that they can work together on other things. And we did some professional development. We sent out, especially at the beginning when people were first working from home and couldn't necessarily do everything they needed to do. So rather than lay anybody off, here, work on some professional development. There's a
nice.
whole library full of things that you can do. And if you are just as busy as before and you don't have time to do it, it'll be there later. So I think that really helped us too.
Fantastic. Now, I don't know if either of you can speak to this, but have you seen any of the local businesses been able to transfer to doing some of their work online? Or I tell you, in the cities, we're seeing a lot of restaurants closing, but I know in some other places people have been able to offer menus online and do pickup. And
well, I can tell you from the subway perspective, it certainly made a difference in the stores that had drive-through versus no drive-through. Because even now, there are a lot of people that will eat in an outdoor patio if you created that, versus going into a restaurant. And the same is true with, drive-through. So people were more comfortable doing that kind of ordering or curbside pickup. And so I think that some of them, that has been able to work all right for, and others not so much. I mean, you think about what businesses have kind of really done well during this. And I'm almost surprised to say, like, liquor stores have done really well. And I'm just like shocked by that, but I'm not a drinker. So, I mean, I wouldn't really even think about that. And then you've got hardware stores. And so some things have done really all right and have been able to do all right with it. And some have struggled. And like you're saying, some have closed, Yeah. So it's hard. It's been nice that there are a lot of, there's the CARES money out there. And I know that our city is offering some grants to people and businesses. And I'm sure, I know that there's been a lot of other things as well to offer just to try to help people out. So yeah, libraries aren't the only place that's trying to be helpful, I guess.
No.
And around Benson, I haven't heard of a lot of that have gone online or anything. I know, I think the grocery stores tried to do a little bit of online. They haven't had online ordering, but have put some more things online to try to help that. Restaurants, we have a few that have really reduced their hours. Some that have closed for periods of time and then opened back up. And but none that have closed completely so far. I know like the Alexandria area has had 3 or 4 that have closed completely. They also probably have more competition than we do, but it's hairdressers. They were struggling
Yeah.
for quite a while there.
It's tough to have broadband help with that.
Yeah, exactly.
You can watch all the YouTube videos you want. Some of us are not blessed.
One of the first things I told my mom was, do not cut your own hair. Please do not cut your own hair. About a week before they opened it up, she decided to cut her bangs. And since I told her no, she had my dad do it instead.
Oh, are they still married?
I know. I had to cut my husband's hair because he couldn't handle it any longer. And it didn't look too bad. It didn't look too bad, but I'm not a professional either.
Me neither.
Oh, no, you just can't. We had a discussion here. Someone was going to cut her hair, and I said, "Why don't you color it instead?"
We did a Kool-Aid coloring. My daughter colored hers with Kool-Aid. My son has a mullet, so he just had a really long mullet.
That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. Well, it's great to hear, and it's great to hear some of the positive things that are going on with it. I'm always looking for the COVID silver lining. Although, Cindy, I think your line saying COVID is not the greatest thing is maybe what I'm going to take away from this whole talk. That is an optimistic way to think about it, especially because you really are in the thick of it, because it really has made a difference day to day. You know, the difficulty that you're having that Amanda isn't having with the day, you know. And I can only imagine the difference in the schools and how a school can plan differently if they know 99% of their kids. You know, I've talked to some people, well, really they just need to get kids devices. That's a lot easier than getting kids connectivity, as we've discussed. Well, that's so I've asked about, you know, my only other thing, and again, I don't know that either of you would know this at all, except perhaps anecdotally, is if you've had a greater increase. I know, and I live in St. Paul. I live close to Minneapolis. I have a lot of friends in some very hot neighborhoods right now. I know some who are looking to move. Have you noticed a greater interest in people moving to your area?
Heard a lot of things recently. I know a house in Clonarf just sold to a couple that has no ties to the area. And I've heard, again, I don't know this one for sure, but I heard that there was a couple houses by Danvers that sold to people out of the cities that could work from home and decided they wanted to be out of what was going on down there. So again, I don't know if those are true or not, or if that's the actual story, but I am hearing stories.
I think, and my guess would be that they would be looking in your area, Amanda, and not Appleton is probably out of. I mean, the trick is, can you work from home? And if you can't, those houses are not.
Yeah, and it's opposite out here of where it is usually. Usually, you have to be in a town to get the higher speed. You know, when I was in Clonarf, I had higher speed than my parents, whose house I live in now. And then with the broadband coming through with Federated, their internet all of a sudden was faster than mine. They moved into town and got slower internet than I have out on the farm. And so people that are interested in living in I shouldn't say a farm, but a rural home, now it actually, like, at least in Swift County, they can do that and still have access to the working from home, online shopping, anything, schooling online, not have to give up those luxuries.
Unless they live in Appleton, then they can have one person online and you pay for the most expensive internet.
And I'm guessing you go 2 miles out of Appleton and you probably have Federated again and have the faster broadband. You're doing well then. So weird.
Well, and I think that is a lesson for policymakers, because the policies, the definitions that we set up determine who is eligible for funding and who isn't. In Swift County, Lac qui Parle County, both of you are similar in that it's the more populated areas, unusually enough, for the ones that have the worst broadband right now. So
If we could have just offered it across the board, put it in at that time too, then it would have cost less for Federated because they had the people already here. They were running the lines around the towns anyway, but yeah, they couldn't get the funding to apply to them. Yeah, it really turned things on their head.
Mhm. I know. I've talked to quite a few of them. They probably know me by first name.
they know your phone number.
Anyway, they probably see me and go the other way.
They might. But that's good. Keep speaking up. Keep speaking up. Keep getting people to take the tests. Because it's, the policy decisions we make today are going to affect people moving forward. So that's a good note to end on. I want to give you guys an opportunity to say anything else if you'd like.
I think you covered it all.
Nice. And I hope you can hear this as loudly as I can. And the jackhammer is really going outside my window. So on that note, thank you both so much. As I said, this is why I really like to talk to each county individually, because as I said, on paper, Swift County looks like you're, on the pig's back, but really, I mean, there are areas that are still, and to be in those areas is a real, it's a real deficit. It's a real hindrance, especially in the time of COVID. So thank you both very much. It's sunshiny here. I hope you get a chance to spend some time in the sunshine later today. So
well, thank you too for the opportunity to share.